You're just a glorified secretary, honey. Don't embarrass us by speaking when the adults talk. My Aunt Evelyn's voice cut through the dinner party like glass, her diamond rings clinking against her champagne flute as the entire family chuckled. I looked down at my simple dress, saying nothing. For 6 years, they all believed I sorted mail and answered phones for a quiet logistics contractor in D.C. They had no idea where I actually went when my phone buzzed at 3 in the morning. But everything changed when Evelyn's golden boy son, Liam, a decorated Navy SEAL just back from a classified deployment, froze mid-stride across the patio. His eyes locked onto the encrypted titanium band resting on my wrist, and the color completely drained from his face. Standing at rigid attention, his voice dropped to a trembling whisper. Oracle 9? My name is Maya Vance. I'm 31 years old, living in a quiet townhouse in Alexandria, Virginia. To my extended family, I was the quiet, unremarkable cousin who never quite lived up to the Vance family name. Every summer, my Aunt Evelyn hosted an extravagant gathering at her sprawling estate in Great Falls, Virginia. It was an event designed purely for bragging rights, where cousins competed over corporate promotions, luxury cars, and private school admissions. I always attended wearing unbranded, modest clothing, driving a 10-year-old sedan, and keeping to myself. It was the easiest way to avoid questions I could never answer. My family believed I worked as a low-level administrative assistant for a nondescript government logistics firm. In reality, my official position was Senior Tactical Intelligence Controller for a specialized Joint Operations Directorate. For over 6 years, I had operated inside high-security bunkers beneath the Capitol, coordinating real-time intelligence feeds, drone paths, and extraction corridors for Tier 1 special operations units across the globe. My existence was classified. My work was invisible. And to keep my family safe and oblivious, I let them believe I made copies and organized filing cabinets for $40,000 a year. Aunt Evelyn never missed an opportunity to remind me of my supposed mediocrity. Standing beside the marble fountain in her courtyard, she held court with my aunts and uncles, loudly recounting her son Liam's achievements. Liam was a Navy SEAL operator, a decorated lieutenant who had spent the last 5 years in the shadows of the military's most elite strike teams. Evelyn treated his career as her personal trophy, using his dangerous service to elevate her own social standing while belittling everyone else around her. Some people serve our country at the highest level, Evelyn announced, casting a pointed glance in my direction. And some people are simply content with a dead-end desk job. But I suppose society needs secretaries too, doesn't it, Maya? Just to keep the coffee brewing for the people who actually run the world. My cousins laughed softly, looking away with comfortable superiority. I simply took a sip of water and offered a polite nod. I had sat in tactical control rooms during high-stakes hostage extractions and coordinated precision strikes under extreme pressure. Evelyn's petty barbs didn't even register as a minor distraction. Just then, the patio gate clicked open and Liam walked in. He wore his formal dress uniform, standing tall with a broad frame, but his eyes carried the unmistakable, hollow weight of someone who had recently seen the abyss. 3 months ago, his unit had been involved in an intense, highly dangerous operation in the mountains of Eastern Europe. I knew every detail of that mission, far more than Liam could ever guess. As Liam stepped onto the patio, Evelyn immediately rushed toward him with open arms, ready to show off her war hero to the guests. But as Liam moved past the cocktail tables to greet his relatives, his eyes drifted toward me standing near the garden edge. His gaze traveled down my arm, suddenly stopping dead on my right wrist. Resting there was a dull, non-reflective titanium wristband engraved with a unique, laser-etched sequence code. It was not jewelry. It was a secure biometric interface, key issued exclusively to 9 senior tactical controllers in the country. Liam froze mid-step. The color instantly drained from his sun-bronzed face. His posture snapped into rigid, instinctual discipline. Slowly, ignoring his mother who was calling his name, Liam walked directly over to where I stood. He leaned in, his voice barely audible beneath the garden music, trembling with raw disbelief. Oracle 9? I kept my expression completely neutral, holding his gaze with a steady, calm focus I had used through thousands of tactical voice transmissions. "Green light on the extraction corridor, Lieutenant," I murmured back in standard protocol cadence. "I'm glad to see you made it to the bird in one piece." Liam swallowed hard, his eyes widening in shock. 3 months ago, his four-man reconnaissance team had been pinned down in a remote valley, surrounded and running out of ammunition. Their primary satellite uplink had failed. In total darkness, a calm, steady female voice codenamed Oracle 9 broke through their emergency beacon, rerouting an unmanned drone to provide covering fire and guiding his team through an uncharted mountain pass to safety. For 90 agonizing minutes, that voice was the only thing standing between Liam and certain death. He had spent months trying to find out who had saved him, only to be told the controller's identity was strictly compartmented. Now, standing in his mother's manicured backyard, he realized the guardian angel who had brought him home alive was the very cousin his family constantly ridiculed. "It was you," Liam breathed, his chest heaving. "All this time, you were the one on the comms." "Keep it down, Liam," I said quietly, offering a calm smile. "Operational security doesn't stop for family dinners." Evelyn's sharp voice interrupted us from across the patio. "Liam, darling, don't waste your time talking shop with Maya. She wouldn't know the first thing about military service. Come sit down, dinner is served." We walked into the formal dining room. As the family moved toward their assigned places, Liam abruptly walked behind my chair, pulling it out and waiting for me to sit first. The table went instantly quiet. It was a subtle gesture, but among people obsessed with social hierarchy, it was startling. "Liam, sweetheart, what are you doing?" Evelyn asked with a forced laugh, taking her seat at the head of the table. "Sit down next to your uncle. Maya can manage her own chair." Liam didn't move until I was comfortably seated, then took the chair directly beside me. Throughout the first course, Evelyn dominated the conversation, recounting exaggerated stories about Liam's bravery while subtly slipping in insults aimed at my quiet lifestyle. "You know, Maya," Evelyn said, cutting into her roast beef, "if you applied yourself just a little, you might get a raise. Maybe then you could afford a proper car instead of that embarrassing rust bucket in the driveway. Liam here gets private briefings with generals. It must be strange for you to even imagine what real responsibility looks like." Before I could speak, Liam slammed his heavy silver fork onto the table. The sharp clang echoed through the room, making several relatives jump. "Mother, that's enough," Liam said, his voice cold and hard. "You will speak to Maya with respect, or I am leaving this table right now." Evelyn blinked in shock, her face turning crimson. "Liam, I am your mother, and I am simply pointing out reality. Maya is a secretary. There's no need to be dramatic." "You don't know what you're talking about," Liam countered, his jaw clenched tight. An uncomfortable silence descended over the room. My cousins exchanged nervous glances, entirely unaccustomed to seeing Evelyn's golden child push back against her authority. Suddenly, a low, pulsing electronic chime resonated from inside my jacket. It was not a standard ringtone. It was a dual-frequency encrypted alert that cut through the silence of the room. Liam stiffened instantly, recognizing the emergency broadcast tone. Evelyn threw her hands up in exasperation. "Oh, honestly, Maya, turn that cheap phone off. It is unbelievably rude to have notifications going off during a formal dinner." I reached into my blazer and pulled out a matte black, unbranded satellite terminal. The screen flashed with red emergency priority text: "Directorate Alpha / Omega route compromised / authorization required." "Excuse me," I said, setting my napkin on the table and answering the line. "Oracle 9, go ahead." I spoke into the receiver, my voice instantly dropping into the flat, authoritative tone of command. The voice on the other end was frantic, coming directly from the Central Command Center in DC. "Ma'am, the secondary logistics corridor in Sector 4 just collapsed. The strike team is blind. We need your override to redirect the high-altitude surveillance grid." "Acknowledge," I answered without hesitation. "Authenticate authorization code Delta 79er. Reallocate orbital assets 42 and 46 to cover the northern ridge immediately." Authorize emergency air corridor Charlie. Route the telemetry straight to my terminal. I will monitor the extraction. Understood, controller. Grid reallocated. Thank you, ma'am. I disconnected the call and calmly placed the device back into my pocket. The entire dining room was frozen in dead silence. Evelyn sat with her mouth open, staring at me as if I had spoken in an ancient language. Then, a thin, mocking smile crept back onto her lips as she tried to regain control of the room. Well, wasn't that quite the little performance? Evelyn sneered, looking around the table for support. Pretending to give orders over the phone to make yourself seem important. Really, Maya, it's pathetic. You're an administrative clerk. Who do you think you're fooling? Shut up, Mom. Liam roared, standing up so violently his chair scraped against the hardwood floor. The room gasped. Liam had never raised his voice to his mother in his life. Liam, how dare you? Evelyn began, her voice trembling with outrage. I said shut up, Liam shouted, his face dark with fury. He pointed directly at me, his hand shaking with raw emotion. Do you have any idea who you are talking to? Do you have any idea what Maya actually does? She works at a desk. Evelyn stammered, looking around frantically. She answers phones. Maya is a senior tactical controller for Joint Special Operations, Liam declared, his voice ringing through the house with absolute authority. 3 months ago, my team was ambushed behind enemy lines. We were completely cut off. 2 of my men were bleeding out, and our extraction team couldn't reach us. The person on the other end of the radio who redirected air support cleared our escape route and stayed on the line until we were safely on the helicopter was Oracle 9. It was Maya. Liam took a step toward his mother, his eyes blazing. If it wasn't for the woman you've spent the last 6 years calling a worthless secretary, your son would have come home in a flag-draped coffin. She didn't just save my life. She saved my entire team. The dining room plunged into absolute, suffocating silence. Evelyn's face drained of all color. Her eyes darted from Liam to me, her arrogance collapsing into complete, humiliating disbelief. My aunts and uncles sat paralyzed, their expressions shifting between utter shock and profound embarrassment. The cousins who had laughed at Evelyn's cruel jokes suddenly looked down at their plates, completely ashamed. I stood up slowly, smoothing the fabric of my dress. I did not raise my voice. I did not gloat. I simply looked directly into Evelyn's wide, terrified eyes with the calm, unyielding authority of someone who held the lives of hundreds of soldiers in her hands every single night. I stayed quiet at these dinners because my work requires discretion, Evelyn, I said softly, every word landing with immense weight. Not because I ever needed your validation, but never mistake professional restraint for weakness. I turned to Liam, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. Stand down, Lieutenant. You did your job out there. Let me handle the rest. Liam looked at me, snapped to attention, and gave me a crisp, unmistakable nod of absolute deference. Yes, ma'am. My phone buzzed once more with a vehicle arrival notification. I walked out of the dining room into the foyer, grabbing my coat. Through the large front windows, the family could clearly see a heavy, black government-plated SUV idling at the curb, its tinted windows and tactical antennas signaling high-level clearance. An escort agent in a dark suit stood beside the passenger door, waiting to open it for me. I stepped outside into the cool evening air, leaving behind the petty drama of people whose entire lives revolved around superficial status. As the SUV pulled away from the curb, heading back toward the command bunker where real decisions were made, my phone vibrated with a text message from Liam. Thank you for bringing me home, Controller. You will always have my utmost respect. I locked the screen and looked out at the road ahead. From that night on, the snide remarks stopped entirely. The family never dared to question my silence again, realizing that while they spent their lives talking about importance, I was out in the shadows, quietly keeping the world turning. Have you ever had someone in your family severely underestimate what you're truly capable of? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to mention what city you're watching from so I can see how far this story reaches. I've left 2 more powerful stories on your screen right now. Make sure to check them out next.